But now, what year did you finish 15th?
That was last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you're working for Cadell.
When I was working for Cadell. Yeah.
Nice, nice. When you're, when you're at the tour, and I think that was the last year Lance won, and everybody's going crazy. The crowds are just huge. And this is 3 weeks.
Yeah,
this is a long time for you to be racing.
Absolutely incredible crowds the last year Lance was there.
Yeah, but for you, I mean, 3-week stage race.
Yes.
That's a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, it was the longest I'd ever done. Anything up to then was maybe 12 days.
Yeah. So how did your body handle it, and did you feel like you were getting stronger? And how do you, you're like 10, 12 stages in, and you got another 10 stages, and you're done. All you want is to go home. How do you get through that?
Well, I was lucky enough to have good legs to begin with and good form, so that really helped. And the bad part is just before the start of the last week in the tour, I got sick with some food issues. And so I had a bad 2 days, but not real bad, and they were flatter ones. So it was in general a pretty good tour for me. I wasn't complaining. I finished, I think I was 34th or 33rd that year, and I'd been in multiple breaks. I'd gotten to really experience the Tour de France from almost every angle. I'd been in long breakaways all day long. I'd been riding with a group of 20, 25 guys that are the best in the world, until the last climb where I'd get dropped or something. But you really got to experience, when you see those crowds and they're just parting away for you on the climb, I'd gotten to experience that that kind of excitement. Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. And to a degree, because you see Lance Armstrong and his Basso Ulrich, all the big guns, and they have a motorcycle in front of them that parts the crowd. By the time I get there about 2-3 minutes later, I don't have a motorcycle. I could see from here, this lady here, and that's as far as I could see going up the climb. And so you just go from dot to dot on the center dots
and
down
hope
the road.
they get out of the way.
Yeah, because literally they could just park the way for you to come right off the road.
And you wouldn't know.
Like that, you wouldn't even know because you can't see anything. It's a complete wall of people, and it's not quiet either. It's incredibly loud. You can't hear anything but the crowds. You can't hear your bike shifting. You can't hear yourself thinking or anything. And you're literally just going from one dot to the next, going up the road. But it was kind of cool because I could really enjoy the moment too, because I was no longer on GC at that particular point in time. And so I really got to experience the Tour de France from just about every angle.
And from the tour and from other races you've done, are there guys who you've had great battles with, people you've raced over and over and over again? Oh,
absolutely. Throughout the years, many battles. It seems like it's always Valverde is there, and you're always battling with him. Yeah. More often than not, he's getting the best of me, but usually I'm working for Cadell. So sometimes those guys those two guys are always battling each other. And they seem to get like a 50-50 between the who's going to beat up who on which given day. But certainly, you always, as a GC rider, you're always battling the same guys day in, day out, week in, week out. It's really like that.
As you were a guy who was into cycling when you were young.
Yes.
So were there guys who were your heroes growing up? Then all of a sudden you're at the starting line, and that's so and so.
I kind of missed that area a little bit. I did get to meet Lamond a little bit here and there, but didn't get to race with him too much. Got to race a little bit with Endering, but he was retiring about the same time. Endering was really the guy that I liked the most. Everything he did was really quiet but solid, never aggressive, always smooth. Everything he did was with really talent, respect, and classy.
Very classy guy.
Classy is the word I'm looking for. Absolutely, really classy guy. So he was one I really liked. The guy now, my favorite rider in the peloton now, realistically, is Valverde. He's really just class, just top to bottom, and so much patience, so much tactically, never doing anything wrong, always just like right there. I mean, you have a lot of guys that are really good racers, but really just win because maybe they're the best or something like that, or they just muscle their way through it, versus seeing a guy like Valverde that's so classy and so every little thing he does is you never see him make a mistake.
Do you remember the first time you raced against Lance and what your thoughts were about him?
Well, actually, the first time I raced against Lance, I beat him.
We like that. Do you remind him of that pretty often?
No, I don't. Never bring it up. No, we were racing down here at USD Grand Prix. It happens to be the college that my girlfriend's going to for law school, and that was really the big opening of the of the Southern Cal region of racing was USD Grand Prix, and all the big teams. You had Spago, you had Sheriffs, you had Motorola. Their Lance at the time was riding for Motorola, and he was already in '96 was already a really big name and stuff. And this is before. This is I want to say it's 91. Maybe I think it's 91 because I was probably 20 years old or so, and I'm still riding amateur with Swamis at the time actually, and we were doing. They had 2-day race, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. Saturday course was a little bit flatter, real technical, small roads and lots of turns. Sunday race had some turns, but it was on the hillside of the course where you'd race up on the main street there and then come back down around the stadium that they have there, the football field, around the stadium field, all the way down the bottom, and then race back up the hill. It'd finish at the top. And so I was in a 5-man group there. Lance was at both those, but that day he was trying to bridge across to the 5-man group and never made it. So, but no, he's an incredible athlete, and incredibly what he does very, very well is he everything around his life that he needs to do on his personal side he does, and then everything that he needs to do so far as the radius around his team he does too, and that's where some people like Cadell Evans is absolutely just. Everything he does for himself personally is spot on to win the Tour de France, but he doesn't extend that aura out to the team, and so that's where you see him having problems. And then you look at this year at the Tour where he had no help because he should have won the Tour, but he had Popovich, and that was his only rider for help. Popovich had a bad 3 weeks during the Tour, and that was it. But that's where Lance really doesn't allow those mistakes to happen. No,
and now that you're on Astana and you've got Johan Bruneel, who is recognizably the best ever. What have you learned from him in the short time that you've been that you've worked with him?
He just really takes care of everything he needs to do for the big events. He doesn't focus on the smaller races so much. Really just picks 4 or 5 of the big events during the year, and these are it. This year we weren't getting in the Tour, and we knew that at the beginning of training camp. And we thought, okay, we're going to do the Giro, we're going to do the Tour of Spain. The Giro disappeared. Last minute, the Giro came back on. 1 week before the Giro started, we were invited to come do it. And so, but even with 1 week's notice, the team was prepared.
They were ready.
And not everybody was ready. Alberto had already been off the bike for a little bit, hanging out at the beach. Levi had been off the bike for a week, but he'd had top form before that. So we weren't completely ready, but he still brought a good team to the race, still had everything everybody needed, and we ended up winning it. Right. So he what he does is he looks after the whole team, and he builds the whole structure. He finds the riders that he wants to win the big races, and then he gives them all the right tools to win.
So now you're talking about you got Cadell, and he's sort of the main guy on the team. So now you've got a team with Lance Armstrong and Contador and Levi and Cloden. So Johan's got to be a magician to keep all those guys happy.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's yet to be seen, but that's what everybody's hoping for. That's what he's good at. That's what he does. That is really what he does. That's what he does. Is he puts together fantastic riders that can win, multiple riders on the same team that can win Grand Tour races, and he gets them working all well together.
And have you chatted with Lance at all about what his plans are in terms of, obviously, he's talking, maybe I'm doing Tour de France, maybe I'm not, I'm going to do Giro.
Lance's plan is to do the Giro.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't talked so much with him personally. A little bit. He came down the other day at the wind tunnel test, went down there, shot the breeze with him a little bit. But he's a busy guy. I certainly don't need to use up his time calling him because I know it needs to be done for me. I just need to be in top form for the Giro, the Tour. And what happens before and after that is whatever happens.